Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I am coming at you with another Wargaming in Miniature video. In today's video, we're going to continue on with our What's in the Box / bag. In today's video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at some of these Berlin or Bust models. They're distributed by Old Glory. They're West Wind production. Berlin or Bust, they say they're 25 millimeters, but I would have to disagree because I've measured some of their infantry and they come out to 28 millimeters. So I think they work really well with games like Bolt Action, as an example. Okay, so these two bags are exactly the same. These are the M4A3 Sherman 75 millimeter dry. Now, if you're not familiar with dry and wet, what that is referring to is the additional armor plating or additional like sandbags or lumber or boxes of sand or whatever that they add on to a tank is normally called wet. When it is just the hull of the tank, then it's usually called dry, and that's what these are. Now I'm going to open both of these just to see if they both come with exactly the same thing. I would assume they do. But in addition to that, I also have a Berlin or Bust Firefly. It's the British 17 pounder, right? And this is the Charlie model. This is in a card box because the packaging was destroyed. But that's okay, because what we're doing is we're just checking to see what is actually included. All right, so let's go ahead and open these guys up. Shoo, we'll put that off to the side there. Let's just dump it. Now, this is a resin body and then metal parts. Okay, resin body. Okay, we have a metal turret. We have a metal crew member. It looks like he's holding part of that hatch, the right side of the hatch in one hand. If you don't want to put a commander exposed, you do have a closed hatch right there that would just slide right on in there to make a closed hatch version. You also have both sides of the hatch, so if you wanted to make an open hatch but not use this crew member, maybe you have a different crew member that you want to use, you could do that. There is a 50 caliber machine gun which would mount on this O-ring. This ring right there is where the antenna would go if you wanted to model an antenna. This is a little bit of extra junk. This is the glacis plate that goes on the front side of the turret. And then there's your 75 millimeter gun that would go through the glacis plate. I'd have to take a look at if it needs to be placed on the inside or outside. That'll come with construction. Yeah, if I don't cut this part of the gun off, and if I put this on the outside, then there's no way for it to fit. But I'll have to look at some photos of the M4A3. If it goes on the inside like that, then there would be a little bit of fidgetiness. Okay, yeah, then there would be no problem with gluing it in place. But I have a feeling that that's supposed to go on the inside, but I could be wrong. All right, we got a little sprue of some additional pieces. It looks like the pintle mount for your 50 caliber. It looks like a machine gun that would go in the front where the machine gunner rides. You got the driver and then the machine gunner. And then there's a couple of additional pieces. One of these look like it's the antenna mount that would go in there. And this other little piece looks like it's a visor cover or something. Oh, right there. It would probably go right there as a little trapdoor hatch, visor opening cover for the back. Yep, I bet you it goes right there. And of course, you've got the left and right side of the tracks. Now the only thing, because it looks like it's got an equal amount of detail. No, that's not true. Okay, it's got less detail on this side. The bogey wheels themselves are smooth on this side, where they have a lip around them on this side where the rubber meets the road. Okay, so, and one way you can tell also, other than that, because there's no like attachment points or anything like that. They're just basically the bogey wheels with the track. But in the front of the track, you'll see that there is an armor skirt, like a what do they call those things? Like a fender, and you can pretty much figure out that it would go on this side because the fender fits perfectly with that. Now they're on this. Oh, okay, look at that. The resin has like these little boxes right there. That's probably going to match up well with the bogey wheels. They do. They match perfectly. There is a little bit of loose resin that's going to obviously have to be cut off and trimmed. But you can see there is an axle pin, and then there's a drivetrain axle pin sticking up right there. And on this, you've got a little bit of a hole on the wheel there and a little bit of a hole on the wheel there. So they should also fit right into those axles, and they do. Yeah, so that's going to go on very nicely. Okay. Now, I don't think this other side is good. Okay, that piece of resin just popped right off. This side's a much cleaner side for this axle and this axle, so. Yeah, that's going to go together real easy. It's got to have to do a little bit of cleaning, but what would you expect? Building the turret is the thing that would be the most complicated, specifically the gun. Okay, so let's open up the second one and make sure that it has the same parts. Now what I'd like to do is, once I've gone over these parts, I would like to zoom in with my focus so that you can see what I'm seeing here. You get to see the amount of detail that these models have. Okay. Okay, this one has a lot less extra resin. Of course, you've got like a little piece there you got to clean up. Sometimes you like, this has got air bubbles on the bottom. You can leave it and not worry about it because it's going to be a game piece on the table and you're not going to see that. As long as there's no air bubbles on the visible area, there's no problem. But if you're anal or if you are just a completionist, you can always fill that with a little bit of putty or you could use something like a plastic putty resin to fill those. Or you could just hit it with some Elmer's or even Zap-A-Gap or just Gorilla Glue, whatever you want. You could just fill those holes and smooth it out. Okay. Okay, I got tools on the back here. Breaker bar, shovel, pickaxe. Okay, those are good things. I don't see a chain like hanging on the back here, but that's okay. The turrets I've noticed on that one and this one, because they're pewter, the way the molds, they don't fit together perfectly. There is a mold line you would have to get rid of. And I'll show you that when I zoom in a little bit. Yep, and there's a little hole where the antenna piece goes, where there wasn't a hole over here, but I just knew where the antenna goes. So I would need to drill that one out. I probably wouldn't want to drill this one out as well. Yeah, that hole in the back is much more pronounced. Yeah, this turret's a little bit more pronounced for some reason. Okay. Same driver. Now, because he only has one hatch open, you would have to use one of these other two hatches to put on the other side of him. This piece is snapped off. I don't off of the sprue, but that's the pintle for your 50 cal machine gun. Turret, mantle, closed cupola, both sides open cupola. The driver himself or the commander has half in his hand. It's modeled. Same thing. You got the antenna, back cover, machine gun, and the tracks. Okay, these are all this is exactly the same, no difference. Okay, so I'm just going to set that to the side because we're going to do a close-up of that. Now, before we go any further, I want to check out my Firefly as well. Okay, so they put most of the parts back in the Firefly bag, it looks like. It's just that the resin body is separate. Other than that, it's the same. Okay, so this resin body has some air bubbles on the bottom as well, but you can see that it's got like these axle support where these don't have that. It's got the same type of sides here, but there's no machine gun position because the Firefly didn't have a hull machine gun. Other than that, you got the it looks like you've got a rivet ridges in the front there where you don't have it on this M4A3. It's got a box on the back this doesn't have, and it's got a mount here that we would normally like attach your gun when it's in transit, and it's off center because if it was straight back it would be too long, and it would prevent the second Firefly on a train or whatever from being close enough. So by putting it off center, the barrel can stick out over here, and the next Sherman can actually be parked closer on a train. The engine compartments are different. You know, where the oil and the gas tanks covers look a little different. That's cool. So they put some thought into that. I appreciate that. Okay, let's open up this bag for the Firefly. Let's dump out the turret and the tracks and everything. Let's take a look here. Tracks look exactly the same. They would attach exactly the same. Okay. Yep, so that's a no-brainer. This has a 50 cal pintle mount. It has the antenna, which is a separate piece, which would go right in there. And now it doesn't have the little cover on the back because the 17-pounder has this big box on the back of the turret. Counterweights the extra length of the barrel, plus it gives more ammo storage. Closed cupola and an okay, this commander is obviously not the same as that commander. He's a British. He has a beret on, binoculars in his hand, and no hatches attached to him. But he does have this big sprue piece you got to cut off. This box, I thought, was this box. Right? But there's an extra box. I'll have to find out where that goes. I don't think they attach an additional box onto the back. Maybe they do. Maybe they do. I'll have to take a look at that. Okay. Super long barrel. Yeah, that looks good. And both sides of the open hatch, because if you use this commander, he's not holding the hatch like this guy, so you would definitely need both sides. But it basically has all the same parts. It doesn't have a cover on a hole in the back, but it does have this box, which I'm not sure where that box goes. I don't think, it definitely doesn't go on a side. It has, this box has a couple of brackets that look like, oh wait, hold on. They might go raised on the back like that. That looks like it's got a spot where a bracket belongs. It might need just a little bit of bending to get it to fit exactly right, but I'll have to do a little research on that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the camera, and we're going to zoom in, and we're going to take a look at the Firefly and the 75 Sherman. Okay, let's start with the Firefly. Okay, showing the ridges, the machine gun, the driver and assistant driver, I guess. How the bottom looks like some like this needs a little fixing right there. You can see there's air bubbles, but it's not bad at all. Especially when it's not on a surface that you'll actually see. The additional tools. Okay, so that is the hull of the Firefly. Now I'm just going to show you one of these tracks because they're all, for all the Shermans, they're all exactly the same. You can see there's quite a bit. Okay, that is, yep, this is the outside. So this is quite a bit of detail. You can see the rubber bogies. And then you can see the amount of detail they put on the track links underneath as well, which a lot of times you won't even see that unless you like tip the tank over. Now this is the inside, but you probably won't ever see that because it'll be glued up against the hull, but you can see how the bogie wheels are just flat on the inside, but you won't ever see that. Okay, I think I'm going to jump around a little bit. Let's look at the hull of the M4A3 Sherman. You can see how it's got the same drivetrain area. There's no crossbars there, and there's only a couple of tow hook positions there, but there's none of that riveted ridges. There is a spot there for you to attach the machine gun piece, and there are the tools and the engine compartment. Alright, now let's show you the turret hulls. This is the M4A3 turret, and this is, you can see the sprue line that I was talking about right through there. Not bad, it just needs to be touched up a little, and there's that little hole in the back for that one extra piece on the sprue. You've got this hole right there inside that circle where the antenna base goes. You've got this raised thing right there on the, that's for your 50 cal machine gun pintle. This is obviously the cupola. Looks like a spotlight, and yeah, and it's mostly hollow. Now the Firefly one is also mostly hollow. You got your gun mount right there. You got your little spotlight. It has the same thing. It's got an antenna spot. It's got a machine gun pintle hole. You got your cupola. A little bit of additional detail. It looks like there's mounts there for additional gear like backpacks and stuff. You got a trap door here for loading ammo. You got this big box. Now you can see that there is still a sprue line that runs through the metal. A lot of good detail on there. You got that additional hatch. And here you go. This is the extra box that's on the back of the Firefly. Not exactly sure where this goes. I might put a picture up on the screen once I figure that out in editing. Okay. Show the barrels. This is the Firefly barrel. You can see how long it is. This barrel is very rigid. The pewter is not soft. It is a very stiff pewter, so as I was starting to straighten it out, I could hear the metal crunching, so I suspect it would be best to maybe heat this up, not to the point of melting, but at least heat it up a little bit to get a perfect straight, or just be very gentle with it as you straighten it out. But it pretty much comes almost perfectly straight, as you can see. There's a little bit of a bend to it, but not that big of a deal. You got your muzzle brake. You probably would need to drill that out if you wanted, you know, if that's the kind of modeler you are, as opposed to the 75, which is very tiny. It already has kind of a hole that you don't need to drill out. This is the part of the 75 that I'm not sure if it goes on the outside or the inside. So we'll have to figure that out. Maybe I'll put a picture up. Okay, the American, I'm calling him an American because it's the M4A3 Sherman 75. This is the commander with his hand on that hatch there. There's got to be a sweet spot where that focus is good. He's got that leather tanker hat on, goggles up, open jacket, hand on the cupola ring. Okay. And then the British Firefly. I guess he could be Canadian, but still. Commonwealth. Looks like his sleeves are rolled up on both hands. Then he's got his binos, beret. Looks good. Now this is the closed cupola that you get with all the vehicles. Just fits down in there. And I noticed the glacis plate is the same. And then the two halves of the cupola, you got this one, and you got this one. Can't see it. Okay. The 50 cal comes with like an attached ammo box. It's got the carrying handle hanging down. Okay, hold on. Let's get this thing oriented correctly. Got a little carrying handle hanging down from the barrel. You got your butterfly trigger back there. Okay. Now this pintle mount had fallen off, so I don't know if you're going to be able to see it with my fat fingers. Little pintle mount. And then this is the sprue that comes with it. You've got this, which I was saying is an antenna, but I guess that could be the hull machine or the turret machine gun. This is the hull machine gun, and then that is the plate cover or window cover in the back. All right, guys, so that was the Sherman M4A3 75 dry for West Winds Berlin or Bust, as well as their Firefly 3 Charlie. These are great vehicles. They're pewter and resin models that you could use in any of your 25, 28 millimeter World War II wargaming like bolt action. All right, thanks for coming out and checking out this video, and I'll see you in the next one.